Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to remove the pedals from a standard bike. Bikes that you would find every day, from kids bikes all the way through to road bikes. The biggest thing you've got to contend with, if you didn't know, was the difference in polarity, the direction in which you would need to undo the pedals. The way I remember it is this: on the right side, that is this side with the chain, the cassette, the derailleur, the right side, it's the right way. By that I mean it's the traditional lefty-loosey, righty-tighty method. So again, on the right side, you do it the right way to remove. On the other side, it then of course is reversed. So as we're looking at the pedals, we're going to do it the right way round, which is lefty-loosey, which means this wrench, in my case, is 15mm, which is almost certainly going to be the case for you as well. You're going to be going in a anti-clockwise fashion. But of course it might be you don't have a wedge here in which to insert a wrench or spanner, in which case then you're going to be coming in from this side, and there's almost certainly going to be a hex or Allen key bolt or nut that needs to be removed this side. If that's the case, then of course you're going to have to reverse the rule I just gave, because facing this way, if we're going anti-clockwise, lefty-loosey, if you're coming in this way, of course you're going to have to do it the other way around. It will be going a clockwise fashion facing this way, which is anti-clockwise for us. Now these are done up with quite a bit of pressure. They need to be done up with quite a bit of pressure so they don't work loose. If they do work loose, you're going to knacker the threads inside the crank arm, and you're going to need to get a new crank arm most certainly as well. So if your pedal has come out right now and you're searching the video in how to put them back in, chances are if they've come out under force, under riding, unfortunately, you're probably going to need a new crank arm anyway. Anyway, one of the biggest things you're going to need to do is have a bit of torque behind you. So while this is all very nice and proper on a bike stand, it's not necessarily the best way to do it, particularly if your stand is a lower budget one. So we're going to do this on the ground, and we're going to do it outside because it's a nice sunny day. So now that we're outside, we're going to locate the place for the spanner. Now I want it to be about here really, so I can really push down, but unfortunately the recess is there and indeed there, so it's not massively ideal. But what you want to do is to get a fair bit of pressure onto the pedal itself here, so that you can then pull away the other direction. So pulling towards me, that was a bit worrying really, because that's come undone really easily. But there we go, there's your lefty-loosey, and there is the pedal coming off. You can either choose to do things by hand, but if, like me, you've got toe straps and things to contend with, then it might be easier just using the spanner. Of course, if you're coming from the other direction, remember that it's going to be the other way round. But as we're looking at the pedals from the right side, it is the right way, lefty-loosey, and there we go. What I'm going to do is spin the bike round, and I'm going to show you the other side. Now, because we're on the other side, the rules have reversed. We are going to be going righty-tighty, which actually is the undoing method for the drive side. Again, if you're coming in from the rear, then actually it's going to be the traditional direction facing outwards. But because we're facing in, like I said, we're going to be pushing down. Now this side is actually much easier to undo because you're just pushing down against the crank. There we go. And there it is, being undone. So it really plays with your head because it's the wrong way round, if you like. But that is how you remove pedals from a bike. Remember to get the direction correct, the polarity correct, and you won't go far wrong. Now, in terms of putting things back on again, it's just a simple case of a reverse procedure. But if you've forgotten which way round your pedals are when you've removed them, or indeed you've got new pedals and you don't know which way round they go, there is nearly always an R and an L to show you what side the pedals are going to be. If you can't locate them, or you just want to triple check that you're putting them on in the right way, the threads of the pedals point up in the direction that they should be. So here the thread here is pointing upwards to the left. That means it's a left thread pedal. And similarly, the threads here are pointing up to the right. That is a right side pedal. Hopefully that makes sense. Look at the thread. Before you put them back on though, it's always worth checking that the threads inside the crank arms and the threads on the pedals are okay. This one has a very small amount of rust on it. But what I like to do is to get a little bit of bike grease and just make sure things get held in place. but not held in place to the point where they seize. Some would actually use thread locker for their pedals. I would absolutely disagree with that. Provided you've done your pedals up to the correct torque, there is no risk of them coming away. But grease means there's going to be no risk of, it's not going to be galvanic corrosion, but there's no risk of things meeting to the point where they seize. So, threads pointing up to the left. This is going to be a left side pedal. Which way do we go? We go anti-clockwise, unless you're facing outwards, in which case the rule is reversed. But there we go. We're going anti-clockwise. Eventually, you won't have enough space for your finger and thumb. So we're just going to swing things around like that. And then when it comes to torque, I'll put the full measurements on the screen for you. But certainly, you need to make sure that your pedals are up to decent torque spec, because if they work loose, they will wear out the threads inside your crank arm, as I've said in many videos before. And if they work loose, that's game over for you in terms of your crank arms, and that will just cost you more money. Anyway, left one's on. Let's go to the right side. Okay, by process of elimination, if you've got one on, then you're probably going to be putting the correct one on now, but you might as well check anyway. There's the R, the thread's pointing up to the right, therefore it's the right pedal. Chuck some bike grease on, make sure there's nothing impeding the threads inside the crank arm as well. And then it's just a case of locating. Now again, remember, we are the right side of the bike, therefore things are going to be going on in the right fashion. Now, there might be some resistance between thumb and finger, and putting your spanner in the gap if you're coming on from that way. But in terms of tightening, it's much easier because you can now lean against the crank arm itself. Let me show you. As we come round here, it's biting. We're going to get that torque, remember, but now we can push down and the bike's not going to fly away anywhere. So, provided we've got the torques correct, that's you in business, and we are job done. Thanks very much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. No more waffling from me. If you've now got nice shiny pedals on, I have pedal envy. Enjoy your day, enjoy your ride, and I'll see you next time.